I'm Hannah Wallace and welcome to Finextra TV. We're here at Money 2020 Europe, and kindly joining me now in the press lounge is Suresh Vaghjiani from Tribe Payments. Suresh, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, it's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. So the first thing I would like to talk to you about is innovation and where you're seeing the next phase. Could you start off with that, please?
Yeah, so I think we've seen so much innovation on the front end. We've seen amazing user experiences, we've seen amazing apps, all of these things. I think one of the things you see that's quite common is that the innovation has been on the front end. There are technologies and systems that sit behind the scenes, and a lot of these innovations to date have used the same components my analogy is everybody's making a cake and everybody's cake looks different because they've designed it differently, but it tastes exactly the same because all the ingredients are the same. So actually I think that there is a lot to be done when it comes to what sits behind the scenes. And when you look at a lot of the fintechs, as I say, they've done the front end, but there hasn't been a big change or a shake-up in the back end and what sits behind there. It's not a sexy topic, but it's actually an area where if that goes to the level that the front end does, can you imagine what could be possible?
Sure, and a good analogy with the cake there.
Yes.
All right, and do you think traditional banking platforms are going to be able to keep up with the pace that's been set by these sexy fintechs, as it were?
I think the traditional banks have learnt their lesson. They've almost kind of ignored fintech to the point that there's become this movement. But I think that the key thing is that traditionally banks have always built their platforms to be very inward facing. It's been very secure, it's never made to be open up to the open world. And even things like open banking, they've been forced based on regulation to open up their systems. But they're doing something that's just, it's almost like a compliance measure to say we must have open banking. The systems have never been able to be flexible, and even a lot of the technology that sits behind it again is legacy. Mm-hmm. And even new technology that may come may become irrelevant in 6 to 8 years. Technology cycles are shrinking. I mean, when I joined the payment space nearly 12 years ago, they would consider a platform end of life after 30 years. And then during that period, people are saying that a 6-year, 8-year-old platform or technology has become obsolete. So I think these cycles are shrinking, and the bank's mindset needs to change, because historically it would be like, are we going to do this build? It's going to be massive development work and it's going to take 10 years to make our return on investment. Sure. Their mindset has to change in order for them to look at and adopt new technologies that allow them to innovate quicker in the way that the fintechs have.
Right, well you certainly painted the picture for us there. And coming to the challenges you've sort of experienced along the way as a founder of Tribe Payments.
Yeah, so Tribe Payments actually officially launched 2 days ago. So it's been a really exciting time for us. So we've taken a different approach in payments. So, if you haven't seen us, our brand, everything, we don't use the color blue. It's in our brand, guys. We don't use blue. We sit there and say every payments technology company says we are next-gen pay tech company. We actually believe people want to work with good people. So our whole strategy is actually hiring not just the most experienced people, but actually good people that people want to work with, because people do business with people. And funnily enough, we've got a team of 75, and hiring the right people hasn't always been that easy. And let me explain why. Normally you take your checkbook out, can I say checkbook in fintech? But you take your checkbook out and you pay the big bucks and you get the people you want. We have been trying to get people that haven't been driven by money, and actually it's been much different. It hasn't been about who's paying that. It's like, what is it that you're offering? What am I buying into? What is the culture? And because we're quite new, the culture is developing, but they bought into the vision of the company. So actually hiring the right people that aren't driven by money is actually harder than you think. Because normally you just pay them more money and they join you, like, oh, we've got a great team. But people that are quite content and happy in their role, it has to be something more than money. So that's actually a strange one. But we're a company growing quickly, but sometimes getting the right people hasn't been easy because they haven't been motivated by money.
Sure. I think the key word there is culture as well, isn't it? All right, and have you seen a peak in the investment of fintechs though?
So I think we've seen so much spending at the moment happening, these valuations and multiples we've seen. there's been a massive drive for customer acquisition. You know, some of the justification for the valuations is the number of customers that they're servicing. And I think that they've been great for the sector because they've actually been shining the light, you know, the Starlings, or they've been shining the light for what is possible when an end customer gets this amazing experience. But I think what's going to also happen is it's actually showcasing the whole aspect of it. And I think investors are kind of looking at saying, are we really investing something where we can get these returns on multiples? So actually, they seem to be more interested in the tangible services. It's funny, but it's almost like the less boring, the less sexy things in payments have become more interesting because it's not a charity. They pay for a service, you get what you know, it's almost like this is the system that sits behind it. So I actually think that we may see less investment on B2C fintechs. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them. And potentially in the B2B or the service space of fintech, I actually think we're going to see the next explosion.
Well, Suresh, thank you very much for your insights. I think watch this space, is safe to say.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for watching.